Good afternoon, traders, and welcome to this week's weekly market analysis class, Monday the 12th of March. As always, please understand that any advice in today's session is of a general nature only and that your personal circumstances have not been taken into consideration. All right, let me bring forward what's on the agenda for this particular week. Let's have a bit of a chat about what's happening and all the currency pairs, and we'll analyze the markets as we go along. If you do have any questions, please type them in and I will address them as I see them. Okay, so let's start off with the US. Essentially, last week, for anybody who wasn't aware, non-farm payroll numbers came in at 313,000. This was the biggest single month increase in 3.5 years. It basically reinforced the positive momentum that the US economy is having at the moment, and it justifies a good reason for the Fed Reserve to raise their interest rate. So the momentum, or the direct reaction from the non-farm payrolls, was good for the US dollar as it made ground against all the majors. The other developments from the US front was the steel and aluminium tariffs issue. Well, Mr. Trump finally signed off on the tariffs, but he made exemptions to Canada and to Mexico, which was very well greeted, and also invited other nations to apply for the exemptions as well. The North Korea issue was also on the agenda for the US, and the prospect of a possible meeting between Mr. Trump and Kim Jong-un has been taken, well in the political circuits, and has also helped the US dollar. This week for the US dollar, what we have on the agenda is as follows: CPI numbers on Tuesday, retail sales Wednesday, and the other major one is building permits on Friday. So there you have it. That's what's on the radar for this week in terms of news releases. If we move along to the GBP, in terms of the data that we have for the GBP due this week, well, their annual budget is due for release, and pretty much that's all that is on the agenda for them. At the moment, the GBP is trading in a converging triangle. We'll have a look at that when we look at our charts, and really needs to break on the upside for any possible rally. Otherwise, the downside risk is firmly on the table. As we all know, this is pretty much showing a reflection of the Brexit negotiations, which at the moment has got both parties stuck on two major issues. One, the single market issue, and two, the Ireland border issue. So that's our GBP. Moving along, other major news this week, New Zealand, we have GDP numbers on Thursday, and the RBNZ Governor Spencer will be speaking on Tuesday. That's pretty much all that's happening Kiwi-wise. Locally, let me just hold off on that US CAD. Locally, for the Aussie Dollar, we had a strong week last week, mainly on the back of the trade balance numbers from both China and locally. In addition, we heard from RBA Governor Lowe. He mentioned that any rate movement, or rather the next rate movement in Australia, would be up rather than down, as the local economy is moving in the right direction. Even though they did remain a fairly neutral stance on their policy, that comment alone and the combination of trade balance numbers basically ensured that the Aussie dollar had a good week last week. This week there's really no data, only the China data really is the any possibility of major movements due directly to data itself. Okay. Lastly, although no major data this week from Japan, we heard the Japan monetary policy statement on Friday, and the news was that they have left monetary policy unchanged. They will continue their bond purchasing program. Now, for those of you who don't know, any bond purchasing program, essentially what that means is that the government is flooding the economy with more cash, and essentially it's a method to devalue their own currency. Okay, so there you have it. Now, in terms of all the data that's been released this week, purely data-based, the US CAD is possibly the one that's going to be most impacted on data alone, so highlight that one, US CAD. And as always, these times that I'm showing you are in my local time, which is Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time. So there you have it. That's our fundamentals done. Let's bring forward our charts and let's keep it moving. Now, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them, type them in, bring them to this class. I'm more than happy to help you. I'm particularly interested to hear from anybody. If you feel like sending me an email, anybody who's been following the daily call trades. I do get a lot of emails about people telling me various things, but I'm just curious to see if anyone's actually following the trades, taking the trades, or any experience that you're having with them. If you can send me a couple of short lines, I'd much appreciate it. I always like hearing from you guys, and I just want to see how you guys are finding it and receiving the program. Now, I did also receive a few emails this week that many of you have not been able to log into the CSE Traders website. It has undergone massive maintenance, and if you it's still not complete yet, but essentially CSC is offering a brand new product, total different structure. For those of you who have had access to it in the past, or you will continue to get that, and so just you will receive an email in relation to that possibly later tonight, early tomorrow morning. Okay, all right, let's get on with it. Aussie US dollar. Let's have a look what we've got. Look, at first glance here, this is a classic downtrend looking type of a trader. All I can see is this, lower lows, lower highs, and it looks like it's in classic trend formation. So with that said, naturally, well, last week I was kind of looking for that as well, and this setup came along. I don't know which day it was, so that's Friday, Thursday. On Thursday this came along, but this particular candle broke on the upside, so it basically meant that there was no trade, no damage done, so no worries. So what I'd like to see now is, and now this is, let me zoom in a bit better. What I'm looking for here, I would love to see an inside candle situation develop right there so that I can trade it in the downward direction. Now, it's very important. I don't really want, I'd prefer not to pass that high, but I will still accept it because you got that significant high. Okay, now it's important to understand the difference between a significant high and just a high. In the context of this chart, the significant highs are obviously there, and if we should get some kind of a turnaround there, it'll be there. So as long as these significant highs are stepping downwards, well, then we can say that that is trend. Okay, so what I would like to see in an ideal world, I would love to see a candle like this, tomorrow's candle like that, and then on the next day be able to take a trade in this direction. Okay, there is nothing else that I'm interested in, not interested in anything else. When I look at this chart, it's just saying one thing to me, and I'm looking for that opportunity to possibly get a sell entry into the trade. Any questions on the Aussie US dollar, guys? Let me have a quick look at a 4-hour chart while I'll give you an opportunity to respond. No, it's nothing. Okay, so it's as I've said, I'm only looking for a sell, but I want to get a setup before I jump in on it. Okay, let's move it along and let's have a look at the Euro USD. Okay, Euro USD, what do we have? Let me just take a look from far away so that I can recalibrate. Okay, if I was going to apply the same principle that I just said on the Aussie dollar, okay, thinking that, you know, this could be the start of a trend. Okay, now on the Aussie dollar, we've already completed that part. We've completed that part and we're up to this part. On this one, we're one hump earlier. So it is a significantly high risk to try and take this trade. It is an engulfing body engulfing candle to try and take that there. The reality is I'm probably still in the congestion. I have not left it. So before I would attempt a short trade on the Euro USD, I would want to clear this level so that I've got the situation where I've got a high, a lower high, I've got a low, and then I break that, and then I have a lower low. And then at least I've got, at the very least, 4 points. When it goes up, that would be the first time that I would attempt this trade. Does everybody understand that? Okay. I am feeling towards the short side, but I don't have enough evidence yet to indicate that perhaps this is what may eventuate and the way and the direction that this may take place. Okay, so at the moment I'm still stuck in the middle, so I really can't do nothing. And if I was to actually draw a line across here, I just saw something. If I was to draw a line across there, I can see now that I'm still bound by these two levels here. Alright, so I'm going to leave this line in for the time being. I'm still in the middle, and a real good indication for you, if ever you're going to try and trade trend, if you look at my two moving averages, they're very, very tight together. Okay, so that basically signals indecision. The market's not going one direction or the other direction. And clearly we need to break that level before we can start to look at a sell. So this week, Euro USD, unfortunately, we're in no man's land, so we're doing absolutely nothing. Okay, let's have a look at the US yen. Okay, let me zoom in now. Question. Everybody please answer. If you don't know, the answer is you just type in a question mark. Are we in a downtrend? Yes or no, or question mark? Go for it. Great. So we all agree, 100%, everybody, we are agreeing that we are in downtrend. I think this was the chart of the day this morning on the daily call. Can anybody confirm that for me? Like, I've seen so many charts today, I can't remember which ones I think that was the daily call this morning. Yes, thank you, Rav, it was. Okay, so let's stick to the game plan. So far, it's setting up beautifully for us. What I'm interested in, what I need to happen to trigger a trade here is this current red candle that I'm pointing at right now. I would love for this candle to finish pretty much exactly like it is right now, or at the very least I want it to finish inside of that level and this level. And if it did finish like it is right now, so tomorrow morning when the new candle starts, which is at 9 a.m. Sydney time, so when the candle starts, if it finishes like it is, all we do is we place a pending order right there to break on the low side to trade in this direction. We would place our stop at the high just above there, probably anywhere. This is your own discretion. When I'm working with a daily, chart, I will probably go anywhere between 5 and 8-ish pips. That's just me personally. You have to make your own discretion, but that's where I would place my stop. Then, of course, that distance becomes my stop distance, which is also my first target distance. Okay, so and then with in trend, sometimes you can chase 3-to-1 levels, but definitely 2-to-1 is something that we would consider no problems. All right, so with this one, we need to wait for the current candle to finish. So far, so good. It looks like it's setting up. If it is set up, definitely I will call that one out in the daily call tomorrow. All right. Nothing else on this one. It's very, very clear. We are in trend, and it looks like we've got an opportunity to possibly continue with that trend. So let's see if this candle complies and remains as an inside candle. Okay, US CAD. Let me zoom out a little bit, guys. Let me just get my bearings. Just want to check something. Want to see how far off I am from being in a... It's not too far off it. What do we think of this shape? I just saw this. I didn't see this before. Okay, so I'm happy. Look, I would be almost willing to trade this one, even if I move this line up a little bit, and let's say I ignore this point. Okay, then I'm still interested if this one reaches that level. That's a level that I would be interested in taking some kind of aggressive action on. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with the top line probably in there somewhere, keeping this as a firm point. Let me zoom in so that you guys can see a little bit better. So there you have it. The bottom one I'm happy with. Can I angle it across a little bit? I'm just trying to see if I can get it. I can't quite get it for a setup right now, but I'm pretty happy with about there, that level there, and that's what it ends up looking like. So I'm going to leave this on, and what I would consider as well, if this pulls back, because I'm trying to get towards the top line, okay, if this provides me a trend continuation like this up, if it does provide me the correct candle pattern inside the little circle here that I've drawn, I would be happy to take that trade. Because remember the rule, if I've got a channel which is going upwards, it's okay to take a trade inside the channel as long as it's also going upwards. What is not okay is, for example, if I was in an upward channel, if I was trying to take these types of trades down towards the bottom. Okay, now some people may want to take those, but generally, how I've shown you guys in the past, I don't take these ones. I will take it on the upside, yes, but not on the downside, because the angle of the channel is going up. If the angle was going down, well then yes, and the reverse is what I would be looking for. Okay, so US CAD, at the moment we've identified a potential channel, and if we do get a setup over here to move towards the top side, and as long as we've got enough room to hit our T1 levels at the very least, well then it would be a viable trade opportunity. Okay, so just bookmark that one as well, US CAD. Let's have a look at the pound US. Now, at the start of the lesson, I mentioned that the pound US is starting to tighten. Okay, so let me just have a look. Why have I got this? It's not the prettiest looking channel, but what I'll look at that in one moment. But what I was talking about was this triangle over here. We're getting ever more into a tight situation. We can see that we're getting tight, and usually when that happens, either we're going to break in that direction or in this direction. Okay, so it is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. We have produced another inside set of candles there. So one could argue we could, because we're looking at this bigger channel, parallelogram, whatever you want to call it, and we're close to the edge, who would be willing to take that trade? Let me zoom out and show it to you properly. Let's get rid of these lines so that I don't confuse you. Strictly off that shape, who would consider trading this? Is it too far away from the bottom, or you're happy to that it's close enough? So what do we think? I just want to see what the room thinks. Okay, I've got one response. Thank you, Rav. What do we think, guys? We've got 3 people that like it. One's a bit hesitant. Someone wants to confirm it on a lower timescale. But we've already got the confirmation though. So for the confirmation is there. This is the confirmation. It's an inside candle. So the only thing that can happen now is we could place a pending order at the break. So this is a good example to show you how to do the inside candle. So the entry level would be so remember, we're trying to trade in this direction, okay? So there's the big candle, and this one is the inside candle. So the way that we trade it is at the break of the inside candle, which is that line there roughly, we would attempt to go in that way. However, if the current candle breaks the bottom of the inside candle, well, then we cancel the order out. We do not get triggered in the trade. End of story. Now, the stop in this case would be behind the fractal candle, which would be there somewhere. Your entry, if you got triggered, would be roughly there where I'm showing you with the dotted line. Does that make sense to everybody? Do we all understand at least how to trigger it? Yep. Okay. Okay, someone's making a comment. The moving average is in the wrong order. Okay, it's a great point, Alan. This trade, if we take this trade as I'm showing it, the reasons that we're taking it is because we are inside of a rising channel. Okay, whenever you're inside a rising channel, when you get to the opposite edge, it's usually always you're in the moving averages are always out of order. Okay, so for example, if we took a trade up here somewhere, you can clearly see that the moving averages will always be against us, and because it's a counter trend method. So in this particular case, I'm not even really the moving averages. We're not looking at them at all. All right. So this is purely a pattern trading method where the moving averages have got nothing to do with it. We're trading the pattern, which we've confirmed. We've got 2 touches on the upside. We've got 2 touches on the bottom side. We're at the 3rd touch, and we're hoping that the pattern holds. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, for anybody who has any indecision with this setup, this is the perfect time that you should write something into your trading plan that deals with this situation. And for example, the wording might be something like, when I trade inside a channel and the setup is more than X amount of distance away from the line, I will not enter the trade, or I will still enter the trade, etc., etc. Okay, so that the next time when it happens, then you know exactly what to do. So for me, the only issue with me with this trade is it too far away from that line? That's the only issue. Is it too far away from that line? End of story. That's the only thing that I'm having a problem with, and nothing else. Okay, the pattern I'm happy with. So I'll leave this one to you guys to make a decision what you want to do. While I'll progress through the analysis, and I'll refer to my trading plans, and let's see if the distance is acceptable for me or not. Okay. All right. Now I'll move on to the Kiwi dollar. Kiwi dollar. Let's have a look. Okay, this one looks pretty easy. Clearly, I am inside a range. It does not get clearer than that. Very, very clear. So if we get here, bang, I'm going to hit that trade. If we come back to this line here, bang, I'm going to hit that trade. That's the only thing that I'm interested in doing on the Kiwi dollar. This is about as clear as it gets on a congestion type method. I think on Thursday, on the daily call, Thursday or Friday, I don't remember which day, I showed this chart like this. I cut off the left-hand side, and typically this is a classic pattern where you get this, and then eventually we get the break through, and it's from the bottom, congestion, and then moves up. That's the classic pattern. Now, I did mention that if we got any kind of setup over here, we could possibly attempt to trade it, because this chart has not come from the underside. It actually come from the high side. So when I show you the full chart, we can see that there was points that are higher than all this. So in this case, the probability of breaking up or down is fairly even. All right. So if you do get setups on the perimeters in that direction, and you've already hit your first target and you want to hang tight, it can be a profitable trade, or it can offer more reward if you hang on and break through, because the break is usually this distance. Okay, and that same principle would apply in both directions. So if you picked up a trade over here and you hung through that, through the break, it can offer you usually a reward that can be bigger than the 2 to 1. Okay, you might be able to get 4 to 1 out of a trade as such. All right, so there you have it. But at the moment, if I just trade what I'm seeing, I'm trading congestion. What I'm looking for is these type trades. All right, Kiwi dollar, we're right in the middle right now, so I definitely can't do anything but wait for it. So mark that into your charts, mark those lines in so that you know what you're looking for. Let's have a look at oil. This is an interesting one. Let me see a 4-hour chart. On a 4-hour chart, there's a nice falling wedge here. I'll show it to you. Looks very nice. It's got nice time symmetry. So if this is a falling wedge 4-hour chart, naturally this is a trade that you could look for. Okay, and this could form over the next 2 candles, 2-3 candles, which is pretty much tonight. Alright, so if you're interested in this one, this is WTI oil 4 hour. Put this on your list of charts to look at. And I believe there's enough room here to trigger something. So you need another 2 candles, and you'll get a clearer picture. Okay, so it looks really nice to me. Alright, so I'm just going to bookmark this on myself as well, and I'll see what happens. Let's move along and have a look at gold. Okay, I need to zoom out a little. It feels like I'm still in the congestion. Even though we had these little sections here where the wick came out, but a long wick like that and all the body finishing back on the inside usually signals a strong rejection, or a lot of stops being triggered and the market falling quickly but then recovering just as quickly again. So we're still in the mess. Ideally, I'd like to take a trade up here in this direction there. That's because I feel like this point has exhausted. If it keeps hovering around here, it feels like it's going to do this. So let's wait and see. And if you were going to try and trade this type of trade, you'd have to be a breakout trader. So you're looking for a big break-in candle to trigger on that trade as such. Okay, so for now, let's just watch it and let's see what happens. Are we talking about gold, Andrew? Okay, could I consider this as a falling wedge? Not on that time frame, let me look at another time frame. If I was going to redraw this as a falling wedge, it would be there. It's more like a converging triangle than a falling wedge, because the bottom, I could consider it this way as well. But when I look on a daily chart, it just doesn't look so right to me. So it actually looks better for me, and this is just personal, I guess. For me, I like the trade better here than as a falling wedge. Okay, so but I see your point. It's more of a converging triangle, but I do see your point. Okay. All right. Last but not least, our Aussie Index. So the market's virtually recovered that big fall already. So we're trading at the 6,000 level. It's very, very choppy, isn't it? I want to trade charts that look like this, where they have nice swings. Okay, that's what I'm always looking for as a technical trader. I'm looking for charts like that. Particularly what I like is the symmetry, the time symmetry, the distances between the lows. Do you know what I mean? It's very similar. This time goes by between the lows. All right, so when you look at these kind of charts over here, I look at the distance between there. They're very similar. They look nice. I look over here, we have this shorter, longer, all over the place, and it's just, it's a chart that is just really horrible to look at. Okay, so when I looking at a chart and you guys are watching me do it, And I tell you, I don't like a chart. Those are the things that I look for. Okay, so it still hasn't settled down for me. So I'm monitoring it just to keep an eye on what our stock market is doing. We're trading at 6,000, and that's about as much information that I really want from this chart. Not happy with it at all. Okay. All right, let me go back and have a quick review of what we've seen. If anybody has any questions, please type them in, and I'm more than happy to help you with that. Aussie dollar, we are waiting for an inside candle setup to hopefully give us a trade in the continuation of what we feel is a falling trend. Euro USD, we're in a tight range, so we're only interested in any trades as we approach these perimeters, or those perimeters up the top as I've just highlighted. US yen, this was our daily call. This is the closest we have to a trade. Right now we have a really nice inside candle situation. It's not complete. You have to wait for the current candle to finish, but should it finish the way it currently is, well, then we would be in a position to trade trend in this direction. US CAD, we've identified a rising channel, so we're going to look for an opportunity to sell at the top end of the channel, somewhere there if we get it. GBP USD is our controversial setup for the week. Some of you will see it's close enough for a setup at the bottom of the line. Some of you will feel that it's not close enough and not interested in taking the trade. So whichever way you swing, yes or no, the most important part is, have you included that scenario in your trading plan? Okay, so for me, one of my rules is that I need to be within about 5 pips of a line, even if I'm on a daily chart. So what I usually do is I try and move the lines to make it fit my scenario. So let me try and do that. Let's see if I can make it work. Because let me just redraw it again. Let's see, can I squeeze it in? Is the question mark. If I can't, then the answer is no. So, and my trading plan actually says that. So of course I can come in, right, and make it touch. Like right now I've made it touch, however I've put a gap up there. Okay, so it's not a matter of making this one touch, but then I've lost my gap up there. So I need to respect the function, the way that this shape works, and part of it is also that it has to, I have to get some kind of a touch up the top, which I do have now. I'm trying to squeeze it in. I was closer before. It's actually getting worse for me. So you can see the exercise of what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to make it all fit in. Okay, that's about as close as I can get it. Where I've got good touches here. I'm very, very close there, but I got far away on the one that I'm interested in, which is over here. So for me, that's a no trade. Okay, and if I was to show you my trading plan, I actually got that written down. Now, these days I trade almost exclusively price action alone, so my trading plan is quite comprehensive about my treatment of setups approaching support lines, resistance lines, channel lines, etc., etc. Okay, so make sure that you have it in yours, so that when this setup or a similar setup comes up again, you don't have the dilemma of do I or do I not. Okay, all right. Kiwi Dollar, classic setup, smoking hot chart. This is a lovely chart. I love this chart. I wish I was here right now. I would trade that every day of the week. I've got to wait for it. So if it does come up there, we'll be on it. Okay, so let's wait. WTI, really, really pretty falling wedge, for the lack of a better word to use. Let's see, I might get a setup here in the next hour or two. And again, let's say if this was the setup right now, my rule is I have to be within a certain distance, and unfortunately I'm too far away, so I would not take that trade. Okay, that's my rule. You need to have your own rule. All right, gold, we're in the congestion, so let's wait. ASX, horrible looking chart, not interested at all. Alright guys, there you have it. Any questions? You have me for a little bit of time. I'm more than happy to look at, address anything that you want me to. I'll give you a moment. If there are no questions, we'll wrap it up. We'll call it a day. So again, while you're typing, if I'd like to hear from any of you what your experiences are. If you want to email me what your experiences are with the daily call, with the chart setups, when you're seeing them, are you seeing the chart? Is it obvious to you like it is to me? I try to make it obvious, but it's obvious. Obviously, you need to know some price action background to understand the trade, and I'm assuming that all of you guys have done the courses with me and at least understand it and have looked at it. So when I show you the chart of the day, what do you think? Does it jump out in your face? Oh yes, it's obvious what he's attempting to do. So I'd like to hear from that. If you are taking the trades, or if you don't know anything about price action and you're simply just following the trades, I'd like to hear from you as well. Just trying to get together some feedback just to see how I can improve the service for you. Is it obvious enough? Is it not obvious enough? How can I make it clearer? Okay. All right. Looks like there's no questions this week. You've let me off with an early mark, so let's wrap up. I'll talk to you next week on the daily call. On the weekly class. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the daily call. If you have any questions throughout the week, please feel free to email me. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic trading week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.